Hello, humane marketers. Sarah Znekrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, Casey. So good to speak to you today. I'm looking forward to our conversation after the conversation we just had.
Yes. Sometimes those initial conversations are the most interesting. Sometimes I'm like, I wish we would have hit record.
Exactly. We need to kind of do a, bonus conversation.
Yeah.
Release that after. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the difference between vision and passion. You kind of made this your expertise in a way and help, female business owners with that bigger vision and so yeah, I want to start right there because those are two big words that we hear a lot, but in fact maybe we haven't actually stopped to think about, well, what do they mean and what's the difference between the two? So can you enlighten us? What's the difference?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so first of all, the work I do, we talk a lot about working with visionary business owners. And for anyone who has not heard this term, I'm what's called a fractional integrator. And a fractional integrator comes into a business and works with the business owner or the visionary business owner. And our job is to take someone who is a very big picture idea person with lots of passion and like a forward thinking, we're talking creative personality types. So those people traditionally aren't very organized and they're a little bit scattered, and they are amazing. And what I started to notice is that I was taking calls from people who would say they wanted to work with an integrator. And so we would start diving into the work, which one of the first things that we do when we start working together is to create what's called the business blueprint. And part of that business blueprint is articulating your vision, your mission, and your values. And one of the things I recognized is that in some cases, we were having a really hard time getting to an actual vision. And so I noticed that there is a difference in some cases between an actual vision and just having a passion for something. And so one of the differences between having a vision and having a passion is that a vision is typically something, first of all, is forward thinking, right? So you're looking out into the future at something. And when you have a vision, one of the ways you know it's a vision is you are able to see the future and you're able to tangibly describe what that future looks like after you are successful. So a vision traditionally involves changing something. So maybe we're changing our customers, or we're changing our community, we're changing the world, the planet, whatever. We're making some sort of change to the way things operate. And a lot of times that vision might have some sort of social responsibility attached to it, or making people's lives easier. And in any case, that's what a vision is. Now, when someone comes to me and has a hard time articulating what that future vision looks like, that's when I know we have a passion. And a passion can be something that we feel really strongly about. And we just maybe don't really know or understand where we want that to go. And that doesn't mean it's bad or you don't have a business. It just means that your approach to the business is a little bit different versus, if we have a vision and we definitely have, like, there's an end goal in sight, and as the integrator, we're defining what those steps are to achieving that end goal, and that's how we operate. And with a passion, we still have goals a little bit, but they're less aligned to what the future looks like and more aligned to what it looks like achieving this passion that you have.
I love that. So it's really like vision is the big picture, future oriented, and kind of tied to maybe something external of your business,
Yeah.
not just internal
Yes.
or personal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the passion is, what we usually understand under passion is just something that you're very passionate about, and
Yep.
it doesn't mean that it's attached to the future or to something external. I
Yeah.
love that. And then you also brought in this other word, which is mission. And I think I might have been confusing vision with mission. So what's the difference between vision and mission, and how would you
Oh,
tie in?
and they're so closely tied together
Yeah.
that I do that even still sometimes. And you'll know a vision because there is a future state. So when you're articulating a vision, you're describing, like, you're like, what's a movie I saw recently where it was a future movie, but you're basically describing the state of the world
Mm-hmm.
as it will be
Yeah.
10 years from now or 20 years from now or
Yeah.
100 years from now or whenever, that vision plays out. And a mission is more of, this is the focus that my company has to achieve that vision. And if I can use an example, really, I'll use my own vision. For example, we are very centered on lifting up women in leadership. We want more women leading companies. We want more women leading countries. We want more voices in that place of leadership. And so one of the things I wrote down in my description of what my future would look like is, hello, Madam President. So in the United States, we have never had a woman leading the country or a woman president. And so if you think about your mission and achieving that, my company, She Suite Boutique, is not directly going to be responsible for putting a woman in the president's seat. Like, that's not our focus. However, the work that we are doing is going to change the way that people view women and women's voices. So what is our focus going to be to make that happen? And so our focus is really on leading women-owned businesses. And so that is how we are going to be lifting up women's voices in leadership and making it more normalized to see a woman leading a 7 or 8 figure business.
I love that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That kind of difference. I can't guarantee that I won't mix them up
No.
again, but it feels like I understood passion really well. Mission and vision. Yeah, I see the future in the vision, because that, it's kind of in the word, where the mission, it's like, well, what am I going to do? It's kind of like a more next steps.
Yeah.
Where vision is that
Yeah.
future oriented thing. Yeah.
And don't feel bad, because you know what, that still happens to me sometimes too, because I'll be talking to a client and I'll have to stop and think, now, are we talking like vision? Or are we talking mission here? And the most important thing is not that it's like, I mean, there's a lot of gray area here. And I think the most important thing is, the purpose of having a mission and vision is to keep you focused and moving in the right direction, and keep your team focused and moving in the right direction. So as long as those vision and mission gives your team members a clear sense of, here's what we're here to accomplish and here's how we're going to go about doing that, then I think, let's not split hairs. That's
Exactly.
a cliche term
So
that we use.
let's talk about that then, because once we have that, do we need those, typical vision or mission statements that everybody talks about? And are these helpful for
Yeah.
companies, or what's the alternative?
Yeah. Yes. They are helpful. And I think a lot of us need to change the way we're thinking about vision and mission. What I find is a lot of companies articulated vision and mission, and they articulate it in a way that it's like a marketing tool for them. So you can probably understand that, where, oh, if we have like this vision and mission that people really connect with, or it resonates with them. And that's not, that should be your secondary motive for creating a vision and mission. So the primary motive is internal based. We use something called the company persona, and the company persona is basically your vision, mission, and values. And the importance of having these is creating context for your team members so that they are looking at your business as if it is a person, right? We're trying to create personalized or personified qualities in the business so that as we're thinking about making decisions or talking on behalf of the company, we're thinking in our head, like, who is this company as a person? What do they think? What do they believe? What do they value? How do they respond? How do they act? How do they interact? And so it really brings the company to life. And that's the importance of having a vision and a mission, is you're changing from thinking as a company or thinking in terms of intangible, or thinking in terms of things like profits or money or dollars or sales or customers. And you're thinking like, what is this person and what is our goal in life?
Yeah. And I'm sure that applies even if you're a one-person company,
Yeah.
because it just becomes much more personal,
Yes.
of course. Yeah. Another big word that just came up for me is purpose.
Yeah.
So that probably all fits in there somewhere as well, right?
Yeah. We use purpose and vision interchangeably. So sometimes I use purpose because I think it's easy. Like, it's a word that we use more often and we understand it. Like, in our mind, it makes a lot of sense. Like, oh, I know what purpose is. Purpose means this. And so if you think of your vision in terms of this is your purpose in life, then it makes a lot more sense. And the same thing goes for mission. Is sometimes we use mission and focus interchangeably. So once you know your purpose, then what is your company's focus? Like, how are you narrowing down what it is you're delivering to the customer or to the audience that is kind of leading you or contributing to the achievement of your purpose in some.
So before, you mentioned this kind of gimmicky approach to vision and mission statements where you just put it out on your website and then you're like, okay, check, we did that. And so now our website visitors can see that we have such a good vision and mission.
Yeah.
And so you would actually not recommend to have it on the website at all, or what?
No, for sure. I mean, for sure you can put it on the website. I'm just suggesting that instead of looking at your vision and mission statement through the lens of how are people going to perceive me, you look at it through the lens of what are we looking to achieve. So do that first, right? Because you have to be able to articulate to your teams and to your people and to yourself, what is my purpose here? What am I doing before you're going out to customers? And the other reason that this is really important is that what you're putting out to your customers has to align with what you're doing as a team. So if your vision says one thing, but your actions don't align with what that vision is, there's a big disconnect, and you're actually going to create a bad experience for customers. And, they're going to be like, well, this isn't what the company is telling me about themselves. And so I don't trust them anymore.
Yeah, the same thing applies to like these sustainability messages that everybody is kind of just throwing on their websites now without actually, having a team dedicated to it, or like doing the real work and being held accountable as well. So
right.
You can't do that. Otherwise it just doesn't, you can't, even for me now, this phrase, we want to change the world. I'm like, yeah, we all do, but
Mhm.
show me, what are you doing? I think it's going to be in the next 10 years. I think it's going to be much more, people want to actually see actions, not just hear
Right.
beautiful phrases.
Right.
And that's where
Yeah.
that deeper work is required.
Right. And that's one of the differences in how I approach this tool, this process, and how a lot of companies are approaching it. And one of the things I mentioned earlier is context. And you can have a vision and mission, right? And it can be a great vision and mission, but there has to be some context behind it, because if you've ever gone to a company's website, or if you've ever worked for another company and they're like, hey, okay, we've checked the box, here's our vision, and you look at that vision and you think to yourself, that's awesome, I have no idea what that means. So it's missing a lot of context. And so the company, even if it's just you working with yourself or you working with a couple of people, that context is really important, because we have to understand the story behind, what does this mean? Why is this important? How does this look in operation, right? And so that's where the vision, mission, and values work really hard together, because the vision articulates the future, the mission describes what you're doing to contribute to the achievement of that vision, and the values is, here's how we are living this out day to day. So you mentioned, these sustainable companies. I had a very similar situation with a client where we had these sustainability values, but yet when we're going to make decisions about the business, we weren't prioritizing, like when a team member would prioritize something sustainable, it would get shot down because of cost or, implementation or execution. And that's great. And we have to find a different way to contextualize what we mean by sustainability. Let's spell it out. What does sustainability mean to us? And how are we able to deliver on that versus just saying we're going to deliver on that?
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. You have to first understand it before you can make it your vision or your
Yeah,
mission.
right.
Because sustainability is one of these terms that we just kind of, use left and right. But
Right.
yeah, everybody
Right.
has their own definition. So
Absolutely.
so
And your
key.
values is something that your employees or your team members are going to be using, or you should be using every day to make decisions. Does this decision align with my values? If it doesn't, do I need to change my values, or do I need to change my decision?
Yeah. So before you mentioned that you're working with people who are not the how did you call it, integrators?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're more like, okay, they have the big passion, of course, they have probably the vision. And so how you help them with the vision and the values, the mission, do you still work with a business plan, or where does it then become like pragmatic and let's roll our sleeves back and
Oh,
get to work?
yeah. Yeah. Yes. So the very first thing is, that vision, mission, values, and then we toss some other things in there, like knowing who your target market is and understanding your value proposition. Those are all very important too. And that's all great. And we need to have that. And then kind of where the breakdown is like, how do we turn this into reality? How do we make stuff happen? And so that's where the business plan comes in. And the vision is an integral part to that, because the vision is like, okay, if 10 years from now we're looking at 50% less carbon emissions, I'm making up a vision statement now, 50% less carbon emissions, and we're looking at biodegradable plastics, and we're looking whatever that vision is that looks like. The plan is, what's the first thing? What's the first thing we need to do to make that happen? And so you break that down into, you're not going to go from 0 to 10 years from now in a quarter. So we break it down into an annual goal or an annual plan, and then a quarterly plan. And the hardest part, I think, is just figuring out what those next small steps are to help you get closer to that vision. That's where the business plan comes in.
Yeah. And it sounds like the small steps, we call them goals, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we confuse our goal with our vision,
Yeah.
where it's again, it's not the same. The goals are really the small and probably more pragmatic steps. It's like,
Yeah.
here's what we need to, and oftentimes what we use there is the SMART. They have to be measurable somehow, so that we can actually say, yeah, we achieved this goal or not. Where the vision, well, right now we don't know if we're going to achieve this vision because it's in the future.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. And for some business owners, especially if you're a very visionary business owner, that is the hard part. I can't see that path. I can see the future, but I can't see how I'm getting there. And that's when it's kind of helpful to partner with somebody who sees the world a little bit differently than you, so they can say, all right, so here's where you need to focus next.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I can't remember the book where I think it's an author who talks about this difference between the visionary and the integrator. There's a book about that, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, since you're on video here, is it this one?
Yeah, Rocket Fuel. Yes, that's it. Yeah. Can you just say the author?
Yeah. Yes. This is called Rocket Fuel, and it's a dual author. It's Gino Wickman and Mark Winters. And they talk a lot about their theory is there's actually two people at the helm of a business and not just one. In some of the traditional models, you're seeing, just one person who's the CEO and then all the people underneath. And I think what Gino Wickman and Mark Winters discovered is that a lot of the CEO type people are not really cut out. That's not their zone of genius to lead people and manage companies. Their zone of genius is future thinking, big
innovation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And those people, as we understand, like Albert Einstein and, some of these other geniuses, is they have these great ideas and they're just not very good at executing them. And so they're suggesting if that's the type of person that you are, there's two people at the helm of the business, and one is the innovators, and then the other person is the get things done person. And then when you pair them together, it's like yin and yang, and you have like this whole person who is then going to catapult this company into success.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why if we're alone in our business, it's just always helpful to work with a coach who sees you from the outside and who can kind of, maybe you have the vision, and I'm not saying that the coach is going to have the vision for you, but the coach is going to help you get to that vision, or have an even bigger vision for you that maybe you can't even see for yourself.
Yes. I was just going to say, as a fractional integrator, we work with bigger businesses who have teams. And if you're a solo person and you're in this kind of visionary dilemma of, I have this idea and I'm not sure what to do with it next, a coach is the perfect next step to help you break down that vision into here's where you need to focus next, kind of a thing.
Yeah, because I do feel that I sometimes work with clients who have a lot of great ideas, right? But and then oftentimes, because they're also the doer, they start too many different things, and then we need to really kind of like focus it back. And I think you mentioned that as well. Focus, like what are the three things that you're going to focus on to get to that vision, because otherwise you spread yourself too thin.
Exactly.
And you won't get there.
And just to be clear, if you are someone who's working by yourself, just know that as you grow and get bigger and expand, those problems don't actually change. So I think the term is different level, different devil. So it stays the same. So there's a lot of CEOs of companies that have that same struggle that those of us who are a single solo business have. So we're all people.
Yeah. And on the other hand, so we talked about the coach, but another idea, of course, is to get help in the execution. So you work with a virtual assistant, or you hire a team member, and then they do more of the execution, so that you get to have more space to do the big thinking.
Yes,
I think both
absolutely.
ways work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who is kind of a innovator or I like to call them creative thinkers, because that's
Mhm.
really who they are. Some type of assistant, whether it's a virtual assistant or an executive assistant, can be an amazing first hire for you, because they are basically an extension of you, only organized. So yeah, that's a definite way to take a step towards getting things done and getting them off your plate.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So there's this question in my head that I keep thinking, well, can you actually have a business without a vision or a vision
Mhm.
statement? It's just like
Yeah.
how would that look like?
Yeah. And you know what? I can't remember exactly what episode it is, but I have a podcast called Female Founders Breaking Boundaries. And I have an episode on passion. I think it's called Passion is Not a Vision or something like that.
Mhm.
And it talks about the difference between passion and vision. And it gives some examples of how you do have or can have a business based on passion and not vision. And there's a lot of very successful businesses today who are based on passion and not vision. Not every business is out to change the world, right? Sometimes you're just capitalizing on an opportunity, or you've recognized a gap in the market and you're doing that. And, an example might be, I'm making car parts. I mean, I don't know how many of your listeners make car parts, but it's kind of a straightforward thing. We're going to go to
Right.
work, we're going to make car parts, we're going to make some money, we're going to pay some employees. Now, you could have a vision, right, with your business, or you could also just go to work and I'm really passionate about making cars last longer. And so that's what we're going to do. And that's, perfectly fine and it works.
Yeah.
It's just the way you structure, organize, and operate day to day is just a little bit different than if you are a vision oriented company.
Yeah. I'm glad you say that because my mandala of humane
Mm,
marketing, it doesn't have vision in it. And so I'm like, oh, but I, sometimes call my people, I created a new word called visioneer. So it's like a pioneer slash visionary, but there's no vision in the 7 P's of humane marketing. But the passion, that's where we start. And I think you're right. Some people, they will have this vision on top of things, and others, they will just find, make a business out of the passion, or
right,
find passion in the business that they're
right,
in. What I think you can't, or it wouldn't be very sustainable and much fun to have a business without passion,
right. Yeah,
where the vision, optional, and
yeah,
obviously great if
yeah.
you have it. Yeah.
I was reading about your mandala and I love it. And it's similar to a little infographic I created as well. Yours it has definitely more spokes on it than mine does. And one of the things you might do if at some point vision does become important is that the little center spoke you have there, that's where I've put vision. So if you do have a vision, that's really where it goes. It's the central hub of everything that you do. So, that's one way to think about it. So,
Yeah, I like
yeah.
that. For us, the center spot is ourselves, because when you
Ah,
market from
mm,
within, then everything, yeah, looks different as
that
well.
makes
But
a
I
lot of
love
sense
yours
too.
too.
I think in both ways, they're very similar, because if you think of a vision, it does come from yourself, right? That is
Yes.
your vision.
Hmm.
Nobody else has that vision.
Hmm.
And that's what makes you the leader of the company,
Different.
is that you're
Yeah.
holding that vision and it comes from self. So
Yeah. Love it.
I
Yeah.
really,
Great
I
teamwork.
really dug for that connection there.
That's amazing. I want to quickly, before we start to wrap up, also mention your marketing book, because you
Oh,
have kind of this background in marketing,
yeah.
and you wrote a book, A Fresh Wave of Marketing, an intentional approach to marketing for visionary CEOs. So tell us a little bit about that book, and, kind of knowing you now for almost an hour, I can tell that you kind of are part of our people. You think marketing definitely needs to be different. So
Yeah.
tell us what this fresh wave of marketing looks like.
Yeah. Okay. So before I, kind of switched focuses to becoming this fractional integrator person. I was a fractional CMO. And one of the things that was happening to me as I was bringing on clients is that our expectations were not aligned. And so this book started out as a workbook really for clients. So I would send this workbook to them so they could kind of get a sense of, this is how we're going to start this work. And when I was done with this workbook, it was like, I don't know, 25,000, 30,000 words or something. And I'm thinking to myself, I could probably drop this on Amazon. And so that's how the book came about, is everything that we've talked about in this episode today about your vision, mission, values. And then, there's some other components of what we call our business blueprint, the target audience. There's even some stuff in there about customer journey, which I know you just recently had an episode on customer journey, but it's all these components of marketing that make your marketing stand out. And marketing is about relating to the customer and humanizing that relationship, which is, I think we get along so well. So yeah, you can grab that book off of Amazon, and it's kind of a down and dirty, like get your hands dirty and implement kind of thing. So after reading the book, you should be able to kind of draft your own vision, mission, values, and get a head start on figuring out what kind of marketing makes sense for you.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great. This has been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Do tell us where people can find you. Yeah, I think you have a free download as well to take this further into integration. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about getting this mission, vision, values right that I have it a lot of different places. So in addition to getting a fresh wave of marketing off of Amazon, I'd love for you to come over and visit the podcast at Female Founders Breaking Boundaries. I'm on all the podcast platforms. And if you'd like to get a little background or have in writing more of what we talked about today, how to come out with your ideal vision, mission, values and articulate that, you can go to our website at she-sweetboutique.com/humane. And we have, a little worksheet to kind of guide you as you're thinking through your vision, mission, values.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I actually do want to ask you two more things, if you don't mind. Yeah. What's your vision of the future of business? Like, where do you see business change and evolve into over the next 10 years? We're kind of, I feel, at this kind of fork, it's like it could either go that way or that way. So where do you think it's going to go?
Shoot. I'm like, how long is this podcast? I could make a whole episode out of this. So I'll try to keep it really precise. For a long time now, I've felt that there was this gap in the small business market. You have small business owners who are at a disadvantage for a variety of different reasons, which we won't get into on this podcast. But I've often felt like this is where the future of our economy is in small business and making these small businesses successful as compared to these huge corporate conglomerates. And so I think the future of business is heading towards ways to put more focus on small businesses for a variety of reasons. For employees and employee benefits, I think small businesses are, going to employ more people are going to be focused more on enjoying their job, enjoying their work. So whether you're an employee of a small business or a small business owner, people are going to be paying attention to their treatment and the work-life balance. And so I think that's kind of the future of small businesses, is we're going to start trying to remove some of those obstacles and boundaries for business owners so that, we have more options. People can not be required to live in huge cities in order to get paid money to live life. We're going to start spreading out and doing more at different levels.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Also, what you just said about the cities, I truly believe that people are going to move away from these big, expensive cities. And that's only possible, of course, if there's employment in the smaller cities and towns.
Yes.
Unless we all do, work from home, but that might be a future edition, or who knows, maybe it will kind of be part working from home and partly going into the small business. But wouldn't that be wonderful? There would also be less, traffic, less cars, because we don't need to all be in the big city anymore.
Right. And as
that.
devastating as this pandemic has been, I think one of the outcomes that we might, be thankful for is that we've always had this opportunity. It existed with our technology today, and the pandemic sort of forced a lot of us to consider different ways of looking at how we are employed or looking at how we run our businesses. And now the hard part's over. We've figured that out. And so I think now there'll be more chance, or it's going to be easier for us to look at it differently now that we've kind of gotten over the hump of figuring out how to make that work and how to use that technology.
Yeah, totally agree. Last question. What are you grateful for today or this week?
You know what? I am grateful for technology. So one of the things I talk about on my podcast is how women in many cases shoulder so much more mental load that some of the things that come easily to other people, we have to work a lot harder for, like owning our own business. Because I'm a mom and I am grateful for technology and the opportunity to run a small business so that I have the chance to take my boys to Boy Scouts after school and to be able to take them to the dentist on Thursday. And so I'm still able to be a mom and run my business at the same time.
Like that. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.